Chapter 1 of The Jewel of 7 Stars. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Roger Moline. The Jewel of 7 Stars by Bram Stoker. Chapter 1 A Summons in the Night. It all seemed so real that I could hardly imagine that it had ever occurred before. And yet each episode came, not as a fresh step in the logic of things, but as something expected. It is in such a wise that memory plays its pranks for good or ill, for pleasure or pain, for weal or woe. It is thus that life is bitter sweet, and that which has been done becomes eternal. Again the light skiff, ceasing to shoot through the lazy water as when the oars flashed and dripped, glided out of the fierce July sunlight into the cool shade of the great drooping willow branches, I standing up in the swaying boat, she sitting still and with deft fingers guarding herself from stray twigs or the freedom of the resilience of moving boughs. Again the water looked golden brown under the canopy of translucent green, and the grassy bank was of emerald hue. Again we sat in the cool shade, with the myriad noises of nature both without and within our bower merging into that drowsy hum in whose sufficing environment the great world with its disturbing trouble, and its more disturbing joys, can be effectually forgotten. Again, in that blissful solitude, the young girl lost the convention of her prim, narrow upbringing and told me in a natural, dreamy way of the loneliness of her new life. With an undertone of sadness she made me feel how, in that spacious home, each one of the household was isolated by the personal magnificence of her father and herself. That there confidence had no altar, and sympathy no shrine, and that there even her father's face was as distant as the old country life seemed now. Once more the wisdom of my manhood and the experience of my years laid themselves at the girl's feet. It was seemingly their own doing, for the individual I had no say in the matter, but only just obeyed imperative orders. And once again the flying seconds multiplied themselves endlessly. For it is in the arcana of dreams that existence merge and renew themselves, change and yet keep the same, like the soul of a musician in a fugue. And so memory swooned again and again in sleep. It seems that there is never to be any perfect rest. Even in Eden the snake rears its head among the laden boughs of the tree of knowledge. The silence of the dreamless night is broken by the roar of the avalanche, the hissing of sudden floods, the clanging of the engine bell marking its sweep through a sleeping American town, the clanking of distant paddles over the sea. Whatever it is breaking the charm of my Eden. The canopy of greenery above us, starred with diamond points of light, seems to quiver in the ceaseless beat of paddles, and the restless bell seems as though it would never cease. All at once the gates of sleep were thrown wide open, and my waking ears took in the cause of the disturbing sounds. Waking existence is prosaic enough; there was somebody knocking and ringing at someone's street door. I was pretty well accustomed in my Jermyn Street chambers to passing sounds; usually I did not concern myself, sleeping or waking, with the doings, however noisy, of my neighbors. But this noise was too continuous, too insistent, too imperative to be ignored. There was some active intelligence behind that ceaseless sound, and some stress or need behind the intelligence. I was not altogether selfish, and at the thought of someone's need I was, without premeditation, out of bed. Instinctively I looked at my watch. It was just 3 o'clock, There was a faint edging of gray round the green blind which darkened my room. It was evident that the knocking and ringing were at the door of our own house, and it was evident, too, that there was no one awake to answer the call. I slipped on my dressing gown and slippers, and went down to the hall door. When I opened it, there stood a dapper groom, with one hand pressed unflinchingly on the electric bell, whilst with the other he raised a ceaseless clangor with the knocker. The instant he saw me the noise ceased. One hand went up instinctively to the brim of his hat, and the other produced a letter from his pocket. A neat brougham was opposite the door; the horses were breathing heavily as though they had come fast. A policeman, with his night lantern still alight at his belt, stood by, attracted to the spot by the noise. "Beg pardon, sir, I'm sorry for disturbing you, but my orders was imperative. I was not to lose a moment, but to knock and ring till someone came. May I ask you, sir, if Mr. Malcolm Ross lives here?" "I am Mr. Malcolm Ross." "Then this letter is for you, sir; and the brougham is for you too, sir." I took, with a strange curiosity, the letter which he handed to me. As a barrister I had had, of course, odd experiences now and then, including sudden demands upon my time, but never anything like this. I stepped back into the hall, closing the door to, but leaving it ajar. Then I switched on the electric light. The letter was directed in a strange hand, a woman's. It began at once without "Dear Sir," or any such address. "You said you would like to help me if I needed it, and I believe you meant what you said. The time has come sooner than I expected. I am in dreadful trouble, and do not know where to turn, or to whom to apply. An attempt has, I fear, been made to murder my father; though, thank God, he still lives. But he is quite unconscious. The doctors and police have been sent for, but there is no one here whom I can depend on. Come at once if you are able to, and forgive me if you can. I suppose I shall realize later what I have done in asking such a favor, but at present I cannot think. Come! Come at once! Margaret Trelawny." Pain and exultation struggled in my mind as I read, but the mastering thought was that she was in trouble and had called on me. Me! My dreaming of her, then, was not altogether without a cause. I called out to the groom: "Wait! I shall be with you in a minute." Then I flew upstairs. A very few minutes sufficed to wash and dress, and we were soon driving through the streets as fast as the horses could go. It was market morning, and when we got out on Piccadilly there was an endless stream of carts coming from the west; but for the rest of the roadway was clear, and we went quickly. I had told the groom to come into the brougham with me, so that he could tell me what had happened as we went along. He sat awkwardly, with his hat on his knees, as he spoke. "Miss Trelawny, sir, sent a man to tell us to get out a carriage at once; and when we was ready she come herself and gave me the letter and told Morgan, the coachman, sir, to fly. She said as I was to lose not a second, but to keep knocking till some one come." "Yes, I know, you told me. What I want to know is, why she sent for me. What happened in the house?" "I don't quite know myself, sir, except that master was found in his room senseless, with the sheets all bloody, and a wound on his head. He couldn't be waked nohow. 'Twas Miss Trelawny herself as found him." "How did she suppose to find him at such an hour? It was late in the night, I suppose?" "I don't know, sir. I didn't hear nothing at all of the details." As he could tell me no more, I stopped the carriage for a moment to let him get out on the box. Then I turned the matter over in my mind as I sat alone. There were many things which I could have asked the servant; and for a few moments after he had gone I was angry with myself for not having used my opportunity. On second thought, however.